My name is Casey, and I am the Galactic Travel Channel. Thank you for joining us today. In clip 1 of our out-of-body experience, or OBE mentoring, we went into how to have your first out-of-body experience simply by closing the eyes and witnessing, observing, cognizing the dark black environment most do see in front of their closed eyes. In today's clip, we're going to go into how to stimulate the visuals to keep your interest active, for one, and we'll just stop that right there. The more you are able to see in front of your closed eyes, the more interesting it will become, the more you have an object to focus on and go into. And so here we will go into a few ways to stimulate hypnagogic imagery, visual imagery to hold your interest. So the first way I'm going to suggest is a technique that I have practiced most of my adult life. It's called Tratak. This is a gazing practice. This particular gazing practice is done on a light source, in this case, a beeswax candle flame. And it's a simple practice. It takes a couple minutes. There's a formal practice and an informal practice. The formal practice, you will take your gaze into the flame and without blinking, hold your attention here until either your eyes begin to water or you reach a certain time frame in the gaze in which it's simply enough. We'll leave that there. So you simply light the candle. You place the candle, I'm going to say about arm's length away from you at eye level. This is all rather important to the technique. I don't have enough space here to put this, and so I'm just going to hold mine right in front of me. You'll have yours on a table or something to hold it, of course, so you can give your full attention. You simply take your gaze, your attention, into the flame and hold it here. In the informal practice, don't worry about whether the eyes are blinking. Just gaze at the flame, feel the flame, enjoy the sensation. And you'll do this for roughly 2 minutes. It's important to not take your eyes away from the flame, because right now we're creating a template, and it's impacting the awareness right now during the gaze. After 2 minutes, you're going to close the eyes. And ideally, you will see an after image of the flame in front of your closed eyes. It will be dancing all over your field, and try to get it steady in the center of your field. And just look in the direction of it for as long as it continues to appear in front of the closed eyes. I do suggest beeswax candles for this practice. The glow will be stronger. It will be more impactful than the chemical candles that are on the markets today with the scents and all that kind of stuff. So I would go with beeswax candles, unscented, for the proper glow and light quotient to actually allow you to create the after image you will see in front of your closed eyes. Now, another method would be sensory deprivation. And a very simple practice of sensory deprivation we can practice, especially visual sensory deprivation, is to palm the eyes. And so you just take the butt of your hand here, and you're going to press them into the eye sockets. You will have to apply significant pressure, but not so much pressure you're going to do damage. So you rest the butt of the hand over the eyes and press. Press lightly, but keep pressing until you begin to see the visuals. It should happen pretty much immediately. It looks just like those psychedelic patterns that you'll often see in these types of videos on the internet these days, the Mandelbrot sets and different geometrical patterns that are moving and morphing and very fast. Usually it's very fun to watch. This is what is happening in the consciousness behind your conscious awareness at all times. You can key into it anytime you like in using this simple technique, palming the eyes. I don't suggest doing this a lot. Don't do this a lot. Period. Another form of sensory deprivation is by using a mind fold mask. And so these are great. These block out 100% of the light, and you would simply put it on, adjust it to where you're not getting any light through any of the sides, and you wear this with the eyes open. It will be very black inside here as no light is creeping in through it all. And you know that what you begin to see from behind here is not coming from the environment around you, but is arising from within your consciousness. And this is important to begin to glean. This is important to begin to more consciously cognize more of the time. Reality is from the inside out. It's from the void, and from the void, visual environments pattern out into what we call reality and reality systems. Those 3D environments that surround sound us. Okay, the last way, no, there's two more ways. Another way to stimulate visuals in hypnagogia is simply by turning yourself upside down. How many of you have ever tried this? How many of you have ever tried this specifically to induce hypnagogic visuals? A simple inversion. I see one hand going up out there. A simple inversion to do is simply a standing forward fold. Stand up, bend forward from the waist, and let yourself dangle there for a period of time. Close your eyes and just observe what begins happening in front of the closed eyes. This won't be as powerful as or as potent as a headstand, because in a headstand, the crown of the head is being grounded to the earth, and the weight being applied in an opposite direction than normal stimulates the visuals. I would suggest trying this often, as many as 2 times a day for lengthy periods of time, if the health permits. Okay, there are some people who should not do inversions, and that would include anyone with heart difficulties, any heart difficulty at all. Which leads us to number 4, the breath. The breath is the most powerful tool you have. There is nothing that can't be done with the breath. So the way to use the breath to very quickly alter the brainwave patterns, which is the core happening that allows the hypnagogic imagery, the visuals from within your awareness, not from the outside environment, but from within your consciousness, to begin shifting into patterns that are very different from the patterns you see when you open your eyes. Okay, or at least to begin, they're going to be the geometric color patterns. Okay, the very fast moving, morphing geometric color patterns. So right now we're going to do a breathing technique that I have practiced for 30 years, roughly, and have taught for quite some time. And this is an excellent breathing pattern to practice if you are an out-of-body explorer, astral projector, lucid dreamer, soul traveler. What other term can we bring into the mix here? So the breath is called Plavini. It's a breath that emphasizes the inhale. It's a simple breath. It's a very quick, audible, deep inhale, and then a passive, relaxed exhale. And you would do this breath in counts of 12, in rounds of 1, 2, or 3, as your system permits you to do, without any discomfort in the body. So if you would like to join me here, I'm going to do a couple breaths of the Plavini breath with you. And my breath is quite long, not as long as it used to be when I practice a whole lot more than I do right now. Your breath won't be as long, so don't try to hold your breath for as long as I do. Okay, so a deep, quick, audible inhale, hold for as long as is comfortable, and exhale freely. Okay, we'll do this a few times. Begin by exhaling fully, and at the very bottom of the breath, swallow. If you followed me, you might have noticed that the imagery behind your closed eyes began changing almost immediately upon retaining the breath. So this is almost what could also be considered a sensory deprivation, and the fact that you are depriving the brain and central nervous system of the regular flow of oxygen it is more normally accustomed to, and in blocking off that flow and retaining the breath there at the top of the breath specifically, you may notice the patterns begin to shift almost immediately. This breath is identical to a free diver just before going into the water. Take that last deep breath and go under. This breath, I can't think of the word, I've tried to say this 3 times now, is an identical format to that, and a very similar thing happens. The brainwave patterns shift from that predominant beta structure into a predominant alpha and even sometimes theta structure, depending on how long the practice continues, and even goes into the delta format. And so as you practice this breath, as your retentions become more full, you'll dive deeper and deeper and deeper. Okay, so those are the ways I am going to suggest to you today to help stimulate the visuals once you have done the simple technique of closing the eyes, witnessing, observing the visual field, the darkness, the blackness, and if you're very fortunate, the 3D blackness in which you can still retain full conscious awareness, still induce the physical body to do whatever practice you want it to do, whether that is simply sit there or breathe in a particular pattern or something else. These are ways to get the hypnagogia going, to stimulate the visuals.